So what the hell is this thing?
It's K. It was I don't know if the pickup originally came on it. It might have.
Where'd you get it?
I got it from my buddy Jay at.
Looks like grilled cheese.
Yeah, it's the grilled cheese burst. At Emerald City Guitars in Seattle.
Oh.
I just bought it for fun. I thought it'd be fun to have in the living room, and somebody had just it's got a Marshall knob.
It's got an oven knob.
An oven knob and some pickup, and the wires going through the F-hole, and it was.
Whoa! Look at that gap.
Yeah. The neck was kind of was broken off and put on badly, and it didn't seem to matter. I like the headstock logo, and
oh yeah, we're on.
That had that
early
that that deco vibe, and I just thought it's going to look great in the living room.
Yeah.
It never stays in tune. No matter
even better.
No matter how you try to tune it.
Oh man, that's a baseball bat too.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's what I liked about it. I gave it to two friends that are like really good guitar repair guys and said, "Can you fix the neck? Can you remove it and put it back on?" And no, and I said, "Come on, you can." Well, it's like it's blah 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 blah, and it won't work. It won't fly. It's broken too. It's in a weird thing. It's structurally this blah blah blah, and I just.
Like it or lump it.
I just said, I didn't ask you if you could fix it cheap. I just said,
oh, interesting.
Could you, even maybe make a new neck and just keep the logo on it and use the same tuning peg?
I had a 1929 National Trinolean that, those necks typically, they don't have a truss rod, so many of them didn't survive, right? This neck, a really great luthier pulled the fretboard off and just put a new fretboard on. So it was the original neck. And then the frets could be a little bit bigger, and the guy did an amazing job. So when I got the guitar, it actually came with just the original fretboard in the case. What the hell am I going to do with this? Wound up selling it to a guy who lives in Belgium last year. But that's cool.
So, it just hangs around the living room, and I pick it up every once in a while and bash a couple of chords off of it. And
do you write any blues ballads when you're feeling sad and lonely?
No, I did.
Or punk blues when you're pissed?
I did grab it, and when I had a thought of a song part or something like that, and I recorded it on my iPhone, and it's still sitting there. I don't remember what it sounds like right now, but I do that every once in a while. I'll just put something down, and I'll get back to that, 3 years later. What are these files on my phone? Oh, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, my phone's full of that.
But you were saying something interesting about the conversation we were having last night about the.
Yeah, that's why we just hi guys.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
we turned it on. We were just kind of fucking around and
yeah, we kind of, since we hadn't been on forever, we thought I wanted to get over here early and so we could set up the stuff and
figure out how everything worked and if it worked.
And then we're just talking about things that seemed relevant to the show. And we thought, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just turn it on and rip.
Well, actually, we were just having a conversation. We were having a conversation last night at dinner. We were kind of having an extension of that conversation. And I just said, hey, this is interesting. So why don't you just hit fucking play and
instead of going, hold that thought for 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's not gonna
and then
happen.
We'll try and keep it fresh. Let's just talk about it now. So we were talking about. Well, actually, there were two concurrent thoughts.
Yeah, there was.
One was the way that you
approach answering questions.
Yeah, And then the other one was how it seems like maybe the public approaches receiving new products,
Yeah.
and then kind of analyzes the feature sets. And geez, where would you like to start? Which one should we hop in on?
Well, you were really on a roll about the GPDI and the guy that asked for the
Oh yeah, your buddy.
yeah.
Yeah. So there's well, first of all, the new GPDI is out, the GPDI IR, which is super exciting. I have one at my place that I've been playing merrily every day. And I'm going to do a song with it this week so we can get that out so people can hear it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and so you were telling me about, I think it was during NAMM, one of your friends wanted one, right? Mm-hmm. You shipped it to him. He was really excited about this particular feature that you kind of discovered, which is, the GPDI can be an add an amp sort of thing, where you add the GPDI IR to another amp, and then you came up with the GPDI IR can add a preamp, right?
I actually hadn't even thought about it.
Or did he? Who
Yeah.
came up with it?
He asked.
Figured it out?
That
Or
was
he asked you?
that's what we were talking about the what's interesting about a product design that has a wider range of possible applications, and then we think, okay, you can use it this way, this way, this way, this way, and this way, and then somebody else pipes up, and what about this way? And
Right.
that usually goes, I'll come up with, and this goes back to how I approach answering questions.
Okay.
Which is, first of all, what drove the question? I'm not thinking about yes or no, or it can or it can't. I'm thinking about what's the root of the question. What drove that you to ask that?
That's exactly what I was thinking too.
Yeah, and so he says, it would be really cool if I could use my preamp with the GPDI and run it into the GPDI's power amp section. Can you do that? And I think he said, can you do it by putting it in the loop somehow in the GPDI and blah, 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 blah. And I thought yeah, you can, but that's not going to give you a good result. But then I thought, however, there is a better answer that will give you a good result and I said, my answer is probably going to surprise you, because it isn't anything that I even thought about or discussed with anybody. But since you asked, and then I explained how you could not only use an external preamp with the GPDI, but use the front panel add an amp function or a foot switch to enable him to use both of them on the fly without unhooking anything.
That's awesome.
Now, why did I think that? Because that was the genesis of the Cyclops, which wasn't an idea about, hey, if you made it do this, it would be really great. It was more like a problem. When I plug my preamp into the line in, I can't hear the amp head that's plugged into it, and that's what was the genesis of the Cyclops, an accessory box of the power station that would allow you to do both of those things without unhooking anything, because that's what really people were complaining about. The people that were complaining about that were where I just want it super, super convenient. I want to basically indulge my lack of curiosity about getting back there with wires and stuff like that. I just want to hook it all up and make it look nice and not have to fiddle around with it.
Yeah.
So I went, okay, well, we'll come up with that. And so when he asked that, I thought, okay, you can basically there is a way to use a GPDI where you work around the add a amp feature. You use part of it, not the whole thing.
Yeah, because there's 4 jacks.
There's 4 jacks.
Yeah.
There's actually 5. There's the FX send and return,
Yes.
and then there's the 2 jacks that connect to your external amps loop, send and
Right.
return.
Yeah.
And then there's the jack that sends a signal to the front of your external amp, so that you keep your guitar plugged into the GP3. You don't have to switch them between the amps.
Yeah.
And the GP3 does the switching. It switches the signal to the input of the amp and brings the amp's preamp signal back into the GPDI. It's actually a funny thing the way it works because it goes both, it's bidirectional. In other words, you plug the GPDI into the external amp, you're sending a signal to the amp's input, and then you're extracting the preamp of that external amp out from the effect send back into the GPDI, and then feeding that into the GPDI's effects loop, which you've defeated by hooking it up to your amp's effects loop. So the GPDI's effects loop replaced that, and now you can not only play the GPDI into your external amp, but you can connect the IR out to your front of house, and it will play whichever amp. If you're playing through the GPDI, it'll send the GPDI signal through the IR out. If you're playing the external amp, it will play the external amp, but also put the external amp's preamp through the GPDI's power amp, and then through the IR out into your front of house. It's insane.
Yeah. And,
but
and that was sort of unintended when you
totally
designed
unintended.
it, right?
So when he suggests, can I do this thing? I'm like, he's just the kind of guy that, well, I'll throw this at him and see if he'll.
And that's where we got on in this discussion, because I was wondering, when you're deciding what the final feature set of a product is going to be, I was asking you, over time, do you develop a sensitivity where you feel like, man, what can we do to not get a million questions of, well, why didn't you put this in there? Why didn't you do this? What, and like, how can we ameliorate that so I don't have to deal with that? But then the other thing was,
hey, Simon, back at you, by the way.
Simon. Hey, everybody.
Back at all you, by the way, is.
I guess it's sort of relevant to say Happy New Year to everybody, because we haven't been on this year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Discerning the difference between useful features that come from people using the products in the field versus, I just kind of want to be able to say that this product can do everything under the sun.
That's what you want to say?
No, well, that's what you have to discern, right? Because I'm sure you get, well, I don't know how you feel about it, but I imagine some suggestions or some things you feel like that's not even in the spirit of this particular product. And I think I threw out, like, you're probably going to hear, how come you didn't make the GPDI IR stereo? Or something like that.
Yeah, and my feeling about that is well, the way I perceive it.
Because you get hammered with these things, right?
Yeah.
Why didn't it do this? Why didn't you do this?
And it's really difficult to not, for me anyway, to not respond with a snarky answer, because it's not just a question. It's like being in front of a firing squad.
That's what I would think. That's
and
what I meant about the sensitivity.
It's like this. And so it's a defensive posture that I end up in, because I'm just trying to navigate. I would like to answer the practical use case questions that are from somebody that I have the sense, the way they pose the question, that they're actually going to make use of that information and knowledge.
Which is totally what the Cyclops is in product form. Here's the answer to that discussion.
Or
you can use it.
Or do I perceive that, do you just want to be the first person to ask this one particular question so that you feel like you're part of the conversation, even though the question is so irrelevant. I don't want to insult anybody, but see, I have to look at, well, we've already done the product development. We've already, you're involved in that. Constantly like flinging shit off you to see how you're going to react to it.
Yeah.
And since I trust your opinion and I know that you know how to use the shit, and frankly, I do know for a fact that you have been using the GPDI ever since, almost on a daily basis since you got it. So that's
9 years ago.
That's 9 years. You have 9 years.
I've been making my living off of that thing.
You have 9 years invested in it. You know that thing probably better than I do as far as the practical application. So if I'm asking you what you think about this, it's because I don't have that practical experience. I've been on.
Yeah.
I'm like way out there from that. I don't have my head wrapped around it, but you have your head wrapped around it every day. So when I have a question about practical application, who else am I going to ask? The person that uses it all the time. And as a person who's trying to get work done, you're not obsessing about these little micro qualities that people sort of get all tangled up in, and they just want to know a thing that it's almost like I have to ask you, is that really something that you would think about?
Well, you brought up, you said, when the first fuzz face hit in my life, I kind of took it for what it was, and I didn't look at it and go, well, this would be great if it only did.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, can you imagine walking in a store when the fuzz face came out and go, can you make it stereo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd buy it if it were stereo.
Yeah. What is that? Is that the guy that just wants to be the first to ask a question?
Pulling your
Is
chain.
it the person? Is it? I want to be part of the conversation, but what I'm really doing is looking for an excuse not to buy it.
Oh, yeah.
And so if
you've
it doesn't
brought that
have
up
this
before.
impractical application that nobody would ever use, then that's my reason to dismiss it.
Yeah.
But this particular, well, I mean, that's what we were discussing.
I don't know. It's like you don't want to denigrate everybody who goes on guitar forums, right? But there is this feeling that
Yes, I do.
and I haven't been on those forums in
haven't
so
either.
many years. I mean, it's probably been over a decade since I, frequented those things. But it seemed like there's just an awful lot of, I don't know.
It's like a board game where you roll the dice and you ask a question. Or,
Like
raise
I've
the
told
subject.
this. I've told this story on here before. When I used to teach guitar at Wildwood Guitars in Colorado, I would talk to these. Like they had a lot of high end guitars that would come in there, and there's nothing wrong with being a non-advanced player, of course, not. But I would talk to some of these guys, and they would be so knowledgeable and exacting with, oh, yeah, I'm looking for a guitar. It's got to have, the grain's got to look like this on the fretboard, and, it's got to be this shade of Brazilian. And I'd be talking to him and going, man, I can't wait to hear this guy play.
See, to me, that's
And then it'd be like, here. It'd be like, yeah, well, I'm working on my C chord.
Yeah.
I'm like,
see, my reaction to that is this is your laundry list of things you're going to be disappointed about. But this is a friend of mine, somebody I have a long time relationship with, and he's in the industry, in another country, in another business, but we interact a lot. And so I gave him this procedure to hook a pedal into the add amp function.
Yeah.
And said, well, just try this. And he was just like, came back all caps, fucking genius, man, it worked like a child, blah, blah, blah. But there's one thing. And I'm like, okay, here it comes. Here it comes. And the output, the way it processed the output of the preamp, the way he had it used, because it's bypassing the other two parts. There's like 4 steps in the process of this guitar signal going in, going out to the external unit, the signal from the external unit coming back in and being processed at the right level to balance with the signal going back into the amp, and all of those things. It's like it's like the Panama Canal. The signal's it's got to do this, and then it's got to do this, and then coming back the other way, it's got to do this to balance it. And so by the time it gets back into the amp.
Is there phasing shit happening?
No, there's not phasing. Well, there would be phasing issues to the extent that if one unit was set clean and the other was set overdrive, they would be different phases, but they wouldn't be happening simultaneously, so there wouldn't be cancellation issues. But because he's bypassing part of that signal level compensating function, he ended up with I'm getting a lot more level out of the preamp than it's comfortable to control from the preamp output.
Yeah.
Maybe if you put a trim pot on, and I'm like, no, the problem isn't that it doesn't have a variable adjustment trim pots on the returns instead of a switch. The problem is you've bypassed half of the function to do a workaround. And now you're asking the product to be further development to accommodate this unusual
when you kind of came up with
workaround.
this way to jimmy it to do this cool thing, and now the question is, well, how come you didn't build that into the design? You're like, I just figured this out today, bro.
That's why I
So that was my whole question to you, was like,
that's like the firing. That's what I'm talking about.
the
firing squad.
There's a sensitivity to,
if
please just use it and have fun with it.
If you can do a thing, you do a thing, and then once you do the thing and people perceive that you can do that thing, then they automatically extrapolate that you can do the next thing that they would want you to do. The same group of people that are taking that position are the ones that are complaining because it took so long to complete in the first place. So that's why my answers I have to think. I think that this is what started the conversation, was why we approach a question the way we do, and why I might get really expansive about the answer, because I just have long years of experience defending myself against coming up with a solution that is going to require extrapolating the next step. So I have to look at it big. And I wasn't at this point when we started the conversation. I was just thinking, yeah, I know I do that, and I know that people think that I'm verbose, and maybe so, and I would like to curb that and maybe be more succinct, but if I actually work it all out like we're doing, if I actually work it all out and work through it, I understand that I'm doing that. It's almost a self-defense posture.
Understood.
I have to understand where the thought originated from and how much trouble I'm going to get in if I say, I can do that. Of course I can do it. Can I do it? Can we do these things? Sure, all day long. Can we do it in this product today? No, not necessarily. When will it be done? Who knows?
But you're explaining the rationale for why it exists the way it exists today, rather than just saying this is what it is and like it or lump it. You're going, well, no, I want to honor your question and I want to explain the thinking behind it,
Right.
you know, and what is its reason for existing in its current form. And I imagine when you answer these questions, there's an amount of I'm not quite sure, but I'm going to test it myself as I speak about it out loud, right? You don't have bullet points at the ready. You're like, well, let's see here.
Yeah.
I'm going to walk through what I was thinking about it. I'm going to walk through what this means for the entire company. I'm going to walk through the history of gear that led to this moment, and you're kind of testing it for its validity, even within your own mind.
And I have a workstation at my office at work, and I have another workstation in the QC department at the factory, and I have another workstation here in the studio, and they all have all of the design software loaded on them, and they all sync to the same database.
That's awesome.
So wherever I am, whenever the thought comes up or the question is pitched or the curiosity drives me to do so, I can just pop open the design software up and look at the board layout, look at a schematic and go, yeah, you could, but
I've been there when you do that.
And that's dangerous because I can go, yeah, I see how that would work. But
you commented on that in the last video that we put out. We were saying once you're rolling in development, the last thing you want to do is start pulling the concept apart again, or it'll never reach the market.
That's right.
But when you were talking about the GPDI, it was stalled because of external forces, as you were saying. So, okay, fine. It's just sitting here in the dock. Let's take it apart and look at it again.
And so we have a whiteboard where we discuss projects, current projects, projects in process, and upcoming potential projects, and all of that. And so, if it's a practical question, but it can't be optimized in the existing product at the moment, I mean, for crying out loud, we're back ordered for probably 2 months on the GPD. We're shipping them, and we're still back ordered.
Yeah.
And by shipping them, that generates more back orders, right? So on the one side, they're flying out the door, and on the other side, it's, what about the next version? Only there's 5 more projects in between doing that and even considering the next version. So absolutely no, it's not going to get interrupted to, rip it all down.
Mic and stereo.
Yeah. So once we sift through evaluating the question, evaluating the validity of the question, and then considering the possibility of applying the question to the test phase of, is this even a practical way to do it, and is there a simple practical way to apply that now so you can at least get started on it, and then later on we can maybe incorporate it into that, or find another one of our products that will help you interface that. Well, it just so happened that this all stemmed from the fact that the GPDI had the direct out, the Valvulator 1 input stage, that you would just plug your guitar in and take the raw signal out and record that as the raw track that you could reamp later. Yeah. That's what started that. That expanded into the add amp feature thing, and it also expanded into building the reamp return path into the GPDI. And so when my buddy says, so what about these little trim pots? 2 things. Look at the back panel and look at the back panel and tell me where I would put, and then I put in all capitals, bold.
Oh, you did this.
More stuff, and I spelled more MOAR. It's just like, this is big. This is the big picture thing I'm talking about. You ask the question with this much perspective,
Yeah.
and then when you go like this, it's like
Yeah.
it answers itself. Look at the back of the. Okay, do you want so you want more jacks on the side,
And I think
or
there's this
underneath,
thing,
or on the top, where
like,
it's like
like it's one thing if, say, people are asking these questions over something that Korg releases, right? Because who are the forward-facing entities for that? It's not the designers. The designers are kind of behind the wall, just doing their job. Where you're positioned, you are the forward-facing entity. You are the people. You're the guy who's going to answer a lot of the questions, and you have to interface with folks over this thing. So,
and it's not by committee, and I'm not the sales management team guy that is like making a list of things to bring back to engineering to ask,
yeah.
And I know that dynamic too. I know that the front end guys go to the engineering guys all the time, and that's a different thing. See, the sales marketing guy, he's going to entertain everything that you say.
Well, it's the wait staff going to the cooks in the back. Hey, can you do the sub on this thing?
And the
chefs
chef,
are like,
and
sure.
the chef is like,
They're like, hell no.
Yeah, the chef like throws a spatula at your forehead. Get the fuck out of my kitchen. That's the kind of thing that goes on in companies where there's these committees and there's the engineering department. And I've heard this about Fender that certain people are not even allowed in the engineering department.
That's funny.
Because they would probably get, tarred and feathered if they did. But so when I think about it that way, as much as I would like to be concise and short and sweet and move on to the next thing, I'm not. I really don't have the luxury of that. I don't have the luxury to do that, so I kind of have to.
I don't think your brain works that way, friend.
Yeah, it's.
I just don't think that's how you do things.
It's also fun to think about something differently than the way I normally would. So sometimes those questions are like, I can go over here for a while.
Do you remember? We've done it a couple times on here where it's like, let's do speed round. Mm-hmm. It's like, I think a couple times we had you set the timer. Like, I'm going to answer this question in 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever. But let's put a bookmark in that because I think it's coming up on the hour. Guys, we got on early just because we were sitting here and we thought, let's just turn it on and get it started.
We were actually on a roll, and I thought,
Yeah, so
let's get this.
Just watching all you guys chiming in. It's awesome to see all of you guys again. Thank you for showing up. You guys are early too. What the hell's that about? Yeah. Do you have anything better to do on a Saturday evening? It is Saturday, right?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't done it on a Saturday.
Man, it's awesome seeing you guys. So we'll go back through here. Maybe we should really start the show.
Yeah.
That's funny. Let's start the show.
I'm getting in the mood for one, yeah. What about you? Drink?
Oh, I would love a drink.
Something to eat, not the crunch.
No. Yeah, because that would annoy everybody out there.
Yeah.
Erico's asking if we want anything to eat, and I think that'd gross you guys out. So, we could,
Yeah, a gimlet would be great.
Gimlet.
And you?
anything brown.
Anything brown?
Wow.
Do you still have the Balvenie?
Yes, I do.
I would love that. Thank
Actually, when we were visiting my mom, we bought a bottle of that to keep up there.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So it's
Huh.
like it's
You're coming around on it, huh?
Yeah, actually.
That's cool. What was I gonna say?
Hey, everybody, how you doing?
Ah,
And I
What's
and I
it
like
say?
this. I like this discussion about whether an olive is a fruit, which I like.
is it a fruit? Are people saying it's a fruit?
Well, somebody's saying it's a fruit. Is it a fruit?
I don't know.
like who
It's
was-
an olive.
Say
Do you
me-
like all olives?
I love olives.
All olives? Black olives.
I love black olives.
Green olives.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't like stuffed olives.
Okay.
I like olives. I don't like pitted olives. I like olives. Now I like them marinated. I also like them just not marinated. But I am a kind of an. We'll go to those restaurants.
Do you
where
like
they-
hard-boiled olives?
I don't know. I've never heard of a hard-boiled
Fucking with you.
olive. You are fucking with me. See, I'm all vulnerable because I'm wide open. I'm what Sting calls on input, where I'll listen to anything. Doesn't necessarily mean I'll give it the gravity that you would expect. But
Actually, I thought you were maybe a little vulnerable because of a slight hangover. How's your head feeling?
actually, fine.
Oh,
Fine.
good.
It's not like a really horrible hangover, but
All right.
we, as we talked, our alcohol consumption is like way down to practically zero, and we haven't really hung out and had a cocktail for months together.
Plus, yeah.
And so we go to our usual hang, the pub, the British pub, for fish and chips and all, and
Robin Hood, y'all.
and we're like, yeah, we probably shouldn't drink tonight. So we get there, waitress comes over, and Joe goes, yeah, Irish car bombs all the way around, and
I sure did.
so the enabler in chief,
Steve's like, we're doing this now. It's like,
yeah. And so okay, all right,
And
yeah.
then you
we
won
walked
anyway.
in the door saying, okay, we want to not lose half a day tomorrow, so like let's be good and blah blah blah. And he sits down, yeah, Irish car bombs, and all three of our hands just spontaneously went up. And so that'll tell you a little bit about our willpower.
so I had a car bomb and a beer. That was my
And
night.
I hadn't
hadn't
tasted that beer, so I tried that beer.
Yeah,
Because,
what old speckled hen or red speckled hen or something.
yeah, and I didn't understand what she was talking about. The CO2 blast or whatever.
Oh, nitrous.
Nitrous.
Yeah.
What is that?
Look, I'm gonna fumble this technically, but to me, it's like the Cadillac of carbonation. So
So-
instead of harsh bubbly, it's like that creamy sort
Okay,
of.
but wait a minute.
bubbly.
It's
It's infused at the point of the pull.
That's what I was asking.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't. It's not in the keg that way. It's infused when you're pulling it from the
I
tap.
think so. Somebody
Is that
can
right?
So it's
Anybody know
nitrogen
about
rather than
Simon, what about it? You should know this.
Yeah. Smaller bubble. Okay, that makes sense. I'm just calling them less harsh and like creamier, but that makes sense. Same as onions and garlic. Yeah, it's nice. It's a different thing. I wouldn't say it's better or worse. I like. You remember when you used to tell me I can't say expressions anymore? I like all expressions at different times. Remember that?
Uh-huh.
You're like, you don't get to say that anymore.
I don't.
No, you told me that.
Oh,
I think it was in the first season of the mouth. Because we
oh,
were always
oh,
drinking
expression.
scotch.
Yeah,
This
yeah.
expression, you're like, I'm tired of hearing you say that word.
Yeah, great, Brendan. I feel like I'm at a quarterly AA reunion without the anonymity or the commitments. That's just like really perfect. That's exactly right. That's what it is.
Yeah, Lou, that's totally. It's that cartridge. That's a nitrogen cartridge, right? Same thing. The Boddingtons has that as well. Yeah, it's nice.
I got a little bit confused because the waitress was talking about speckled something, and this place is also, they serve spotted dick, and I'm sorry, like, is it speckled dick or spotted dick? This is where I was mentally going when we're
Interesting.
just trying to order a drink, and when I hear these sort of colloquialisms about British pub food that just crack me up, I'm just like, I'm so unable to like track this shit. Just bring me one, okay? Just bring me one, and then I'll have done with it.
Freckled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what I do a lot now.
They serve this at this pub. Spotted dick. I don't know what it is. I'm afraid to look.
Yeah, I'm out on that.
I think
one.
it's actually a pudding or something. Help!
A cheese. Okay, possibly. I've never heard that expression. I don't even know.
It's
what that
on the
is.
menu.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like I don't even want to
get the
say it
same
out loud
thing.
in order to order it and find out.
Has anyone put one of those cartridges in their soda stream? No. In your coffee.
How do you get it into your coffee?
Oh yeah, I would definitely have that.
Do you have to have a little nitro gun or something like that?
Tom, how do you do that? Do you do that at home?
Yeah,
Do you have a way
I want
of
to know
doing
about
that?
that. I want to know about that.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that was fun last night because we shot a video yesterday evening that I think is really awesome. That I think will come out tomorrow. It's another shop talk,
Oh, that one.
educational bench talk.
Oxygen sucking.
No, it's good. It's good. If you're into this nerdy side of stuff,
It's so nerdy. When we got done, I just went, why didn't you stop me when you had the chance?
no, I thought it was great, and I edited it today, so I thought it was great going by. And then this next week, I need to record a song demonstrating the GPDI before I do more of the demo video, because people are asking for sounds, so I got to do that. That'll be coming up.
And I asked you to play bass, use it for the bass track too, because not only because you had
The
done
big
it
guitar?
before- Huh?
The big guitar? Where's your bass?
Oh, it's around here somewhere.
Which is my old bass. You bought my old bass.
Yeah, I don't know where. Oh, it's probably in the closet.
Oh.
I wanted you to do that because you had done it on the original one, and we do get asked all the time, can I play bass? This is another one of those questions that I have to stop myself. I could answer the question, or I could just backhand the questioner. Like, seriously? I mean, I guess I give people way more credit than they sometimes deserve. And it occurs to me that there are people that, I mean, I have to be more sensitive to the fact that there are people that just are, they're not understanding the gear that they're using, and their sense of what it is or how it works is very poorly developed or not at all developed, and that's not being dismissive. That's
And
just
not everybody's super great with Google Foo, and they just will ask you without
but that's
all the research.
But that's not saying anybody's stupid or
No.
like a poor player or anything, because Steve Lukather is one of those guys that always amazes me when he's talking about plugging into gear. I love the guy to death, but every once in a while when I hear him talking about gear and plugging stuff into stuff, I wonder, how do you even play guitar without hanging yourself on the guitar cord? Because it's mind-blowing that, but see, being a musician and playing guitar doesn't necessarily mean that you've got a technical sense of how these things work and how signal flows and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, and then you're an
Right?
expert in how all of this stuff works.
Yeah, so when somebody...
Hendrix certainly wasn't.
He was the kind of guy, just like me, that I won't ask. It's like you play a guitar and in this amp and you crank it up really loud and blah, 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 blah. And I need to make a bass track. I'll just plug into what I have right now since it's all set up and start playing. And did anybody run into the room and go, oh, you can't do that. That's a bass and that's a guitar amp. Can't put a bass in guitar. Like, hello?
Do you remember who Phil Kubicki was?
No.
Guitar builder. He made Kubicki
Oh,
basses.
yeah.
But he was also a West Coast guitar repair guy, and he worked on some of Hendrix's guitars, and he was saying, yeah, he's like, I got Jimmy Strat, and where is this? He gouged in the ninth fret.
Yeah.
Gouged the fret so he could get the beginning of Foxy Lady feedback.
Yeah.
Just turn up the volume.
Right.
He's like, yeah, he just gouged the shit out of the fret.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a discussion with Michael Landau about that.
Oh, that very thing?
Yeah, because when I got my Nelson guitar, it's got the stainless frets on it, and I was asking people about stainless frets because I never had a guitar with stainless frets. So I asked Friedman about it. I asked a bunch of different people, and Friedman says you need to talk to Landau because he's like a well-known hater of stainless steel frets. So I went, oh, great. So back and forth with Landau, and as it turns out, no, he's not the supreme hater of stainless frets. 10 years ago, he got a guitar that had them on there, and he had an issue with it at the time and asked the builder to change it to nickel steel frets, which the guy did. And he said that isn't what was irritating me about the guitar anyway, and so I sold it. Yeah. So that was my last experience with stainless steel frets, and since then I haven't given it a moment's thought. And I went, all right, well that was a bum steer, but it was actually a good steer because what it said was everything that everybody up until the time that you batted that subject back and forth with Landau, everything that everybody said about what that experience was going to be like turned out to be completely unsubstantiated.
That's funny. I've been using
but what I said to Mike was, look, my only real interest in this conversation is that I'm having a little difficulty using it to play the intro to Foxy Lady. And he goes,
there's no grab.
His response was, well, yeah, that would be a real deal breaker for me too. And that was the end of the conversation. So then I told Bruce, I said, okay, I really researched this because I told him that I was on the fence about the stainless frets. And he said, are you still on the fence about it? And I said, not anymore. I'm just gonna hack the 12th fret and I'll be done with it. And he was like, almost horrified that I was going to purposely mangle a fret. And I said, but I'm not going to do it tomorrow because I'm not going to, it's a conversation, right? It's a conversation. It's not like a dying need, I have to have this. It's just.
Well, plus you have more
It was a
than one
fact-finding
guitar.
mission. What?
You have more than one guitar.
I have more than one guitar. I could hit another guitar with a hammer and it'll be fine.
Yeah. I've been playing primarily stainless steel frets for over a decade now. And when I first played a couple guitars with them, I had that same thing of I don't like this because it's twinky, pingy. But I really think for people, it's like, well, if it's an issue for you, then it's an issue for you, and there's no point in talking you out of it.
Yeah.
And if it's not an issue for you, then it's not an issue for you, and you like it. And I think it really comes down to the particular guitar. I've heard people talk about, well, it depends on how they're installed and, how skilled the luthier is, whatever. I don't know. But
no, there is no knowing.
I have great guitars with nickel frets, and I have great guitars with stainless steel frets. And I never pick them up and go, yeah, this is the one that has that stainless steel shit going on. Yeah. And people can argue with me or whatever. I don't think you're going to hear that through the amplifier, through the monitors on the track. I don't think you're going to hear that.
I'm somebody that my guitars are beat.
Yeah, mine too.
They have fret problems. They don't tune that well, and I don't care. And my Esquire, which is like the most beater of them all, I've just felt bad about it. So I gave it to Bruce to just do something with it. And he identified, well, here's 2 or 3 simple things that I would do to it to make it better for me. And I said, do those. Are you sure? I said, yeah, do it. And he
What
did
is
it.
happening here?
Oh my God.
It's not crunchy.
Nico-chan is the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow.
Here.
Oh, look at this.
There's room up there.
This is
Croquette.
these are potato.
Yeah, potato croquette.
Insane.
These are heart stoppers. Potato croquette sandwiches. So deep fried potatoes in batter on bread, and that's what every healthy growing boy needs in his life. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, everyone.
Well, the Nelson is really growing on me, and I'm finding that I'm picking it up first when I'm demoing stuff or trying things out, because it's just a blast to play. And it was made for me, and by a person who knows me very well, and it's
Brandon, that's hilarious. Can you read that?
yeah. Yeah, exactly what it is. That's exactly it. And so the Esquire rocks better than it ever did, and the Nelson has got a character that none of my other guitars have, and what that character is my personality coming through it better than it does on some of the other stuff, except the Esquire. So it's right up there with the Esquire now, because it has this quality to it.
I want to challenge you on that. I think this is a fun little conversation to have. I talk about this with people a lot regarding vintage instruments. You just made the assertion that you sound more like yourself coming through that guitar. Am I correct?
All right, what did I step my foot in now?
No. I'm not attacking. I just think no matter what you play, you come through just fine and clear. I think that what happens is you're more inspired to play that instrument. You feel like it's not that what's coming out is more you. You're able to connect. It's a psychological thing that's happening in your head, right? So
I kind of see that as the same thing, though. It's just an extension. I don't see that as...
So people who claim that vintage instruments sound better, vintage instruments are just the best thing, right? The best that you can ever do in identifying like a great Strat sound on a record is to go, that's a great Strat sound. Nobody in the history of recorded music has been able to say, that's an amazing sounding 57 Strat on that record. You can't hear the age. You can hear that's a great version of that, right? But
because there's vintage,
when I say this,
there's vintage Strats that sound sweet and warm and silky,
Yeah.
and there's the same year, a Strat made the same day that's scratchy and ratty and
yeah.
horrible.
So when I say this, it might sound like I'm making the assertion that that's all bullshit and there's no relevance to being into your vintage instruments or whatever. And I'm not saying that at all. I think that what happens is the feedback loop is much smaller. It's between you and the way that thing vibrates against your body. And if it makes you feel more connected to music, to think about all of the ghosts in this instrument, all of the people that played it before you got it. And when you sit with that thing, it's just like, I just love that feeling. And that's how I want to feel when I'm playing my music. Then that's worth it. That's completely relevant. But you can't identify that, in the end product. Like, close your eyes.
You could have that experience with a brand new instrument.
You absolutely
because it
can.
feels a little different in your hands, and you react and interact with it differently than another instrument, and that's what's different. And it's irrelevant whether it's a new one or an old one or when it was made or how it was made.
100%. Yeah.
And I have experienced that. Although, and I thought about it. A friend of mine had a 1951 Nocaster that had sat in the case for decades under his bed, and it was about as pristine a Nocaster as I have ever seen.
How
And
do you
I hadn't
get it?
seen that many at the time. What?
How did he acquire it?
Oh, he was actually brokering it for another guy whose wife wanted him to buy a house, and the guitar at that point was now worth enough for a down payment on a
yeah.
pretty nice house.
Yeah.
So he was offering it for sale, so he had it at his place, and I picked it up. First I opened up the case, and the smell of the nitrocellulose vibe, the whole smell that came out of the case was a thing, because that's a big thing with me. And then when I picked it up, it was just perfect for me. In retrospect, was it perfect for me because it was a 51 Nocaster that was in wonderful condition, or was it perfect for me because it just felt just right in my hand? And would a brand new guitar that felt like that in my hands have the same reaction to me? Yeah, probably would. It would, of course, sound a little different maybe, but that's not that could be anything. That could be just like, well, I like that too.
Yeah.
We like it. I mean, why do we buy 10, 12 guitars? We like them all. We love them all. They all do a thing. It's a slightly different thing, but it's a thing. And so we go Vive la Différence, because it's like another, it sort of breaks a continuity and starts a new one with a new instrument.
What do you mean by that? That sounds interesting.
If you've been using the same guitar for a long time, and then or even a short amount of time, and you're just used to playing that, and then you get something new, it breaks the continuity and it starts a new continuity.
I remember Geddy Lee talking about that, and he was like, "Yeah, I just get a new." He started collecting basses later on in his career, but for most of his career, he wasn't, this massive collector guy. And he would say, I'll play a bass for 5-7 years, and then I change it up just to change it up. Mm-hmm. Getting tired of that feel. I want to see what happens when I get something else in my hands for a prolonged period of time. And he does it specifically to get that, you know?
Get out of your own way.
Yeah. Okay, I've been doing this long enough.
Yeah.
It's time to,
And
drink.
and you get to a point where things become absurd, and when your life becomes so routine, you have to do just something really off the wall and absurd just to smash continuity. So I'm not somebody that knows a whole lot about Rush or their albums or follow them or anything.
Yeah.
But I got when I saw them on stage and Geddy Lee had washing machines running behind him on stage, I totally got it. I went, I totally understand where you're coming from. It's just like, this is a complete denunciation of routine.
Yes.
The destruction of expectations, everything. He's just, sometimes when you just have had it up to here, you raise the big FU flag as high and as loud.
You gotta have an amp backline. Really?
Yeah.
I'm thinking washing machines this tour.
Yeah. Running washing machines with water and soap suds and there isn't a greater expectation of this whole thing is a fucking circus, so let's just treat it like one.
Yeah.
All right? And it breaks the pretense. It destroys the pretense. Anybody that thinks that they're this pretense prog side, no, we're just insanely nerdy and bored.
Yeah.
And we have to get out of that cycle. And so
washing machines it is.
Washing machines. Somebody mentioned that they like the examinations into the vintage amps that we do once in a while, and that they need more of those, and I really enjoy doing those, and I would like to do more of them, but I've sort of created a monster now, and it's absorbing all of my energy. And the other thing that happens is I have to disappoint people, because they see those and they say, I have one of those. I need to send it to you because you're, as far as I'm concerned, now you're the avowed expert on that, and I want that's what I want. That's who I want looking at my prized little piece, and I have to say, you know what, I don't do that for everybody, not because this person is special. It's just that was something that I wanted to explore at the time, and we did that.
And I had this
fun.
little pocket in my schedule that I could fit it in today.
Right. And
Joe, are you free to come shoot a thing?
Yeah. Just so happens,
Yeah, okay, let's do it. All right, then we can do it.
And so that's difficult. But and they may pop up again, but I have to be careful because what's happening is I forget who I said this to or where I mentioned it, but what I thought was this creative spurt where I was having what I thought was having a creative spurt and having a lot of fun, having these creations come into reality and get them out in the marketplace. What I thought was supposed to be fun and exciting turned out to be I was just creating a whole fuckload of work for everybody else on the team. And it never even crossed my mind. I was just thinking, this is a great idea. We have a window of opportunity. This is a great idea. We have a window. And I was like pounded like 3 or 4 things into the space pretty quickly, way out of character for how long it normally takes us to develop a product, and literally yanking things out of my rear end and having them fly into the market at a record pace and thinking, okay, now you know we can do it. And now I can see that the reaction from the end users to having done that is great. And I'm going back in the production area and helping out with some stuff, and I just see that everybody is like completely overwhelmed trying to keep up with this pace.
I saw that yesterday, visiting the shop, like, whoa.
Yeah.
You filled that
There's
whole...
shit everywhere.
Yeah.
We move into a new facility that's 3 times as big as our old one, and we figured that we would need to be at least the size of the facility to handle our current capacity. So we went with a place that was 3 times as big, and now it's just as full to the rafters as the old place was last year. And I'm like, and he says, so what's going to be the solution to that? I said, ship. That's it.
Get it out of here.
But our staff is now maxed out to the point where we're shipping every single thing that we could possibly get out of the door as fast as we could possibly do it. The overtime is getting immense, and everybody's just like excited and exhausted at the same time. Can you do that? I mean, like, yeah, we're all loving it. We're all loving the changes. The production people are like going, it's fun to learn a new thing to do and do something different than I was doing before and all that. And they're like crawling to their cars on their hands and knees at the end of the day.
It's funny, when I got in there yesterday, I was going, Masa, what the hell are you doing here? And he just said, you know, we've all been staying longer.
Yeah. All of us.
And he looked at the clock and went, whoa.
Yeah. And I thought that the video that we worked on yesterday was going to be done by 6.
Oh.
You know, we left there at 9. Everything is like that right now. Just living and breathing it.
Yeah.
It's also a nice escape from the insanity that the world is, but it breeds just a flurry of more feedback, which results in people asking all the questions that they ask.
Here we go. It's question time, Steve.
Uh-oh.
We're going back up to the top.
So if we were going to be doing the you asked for it portion of the show.
Yeah. Which, can you explain to the good people what that is? Because we've been doing it for a while, but
Well, there was a TV show in the 50s called You Asked For It, and people would write in and say, what would it be like if you took a jet and put engines to make it go forward and then put engines the other direction to make it go backwards, and they would try to figure out how to do that and make a show out of it. That's a little extreme, but that was kind of the way it was.
But it's the Malcontents version of Ask Steve.
Yeah, and the problem is, goes back to, I'm going to be examining the root of the question just as much as attempting to just answer it.
Or we can, if you want, the other challenge of, okay, do it in 2 minutes or less.
Well,
It's up
how
to
about
you.
this? Let's try 2 or 3 of them, and I'll answer it as close to yes or no as possible, and then your job is going to be to respond right away so we can watch it in the chat to see if that was sufficient for you, if that did the trick or not.
All right. Ready? This is our OG buddy Mark asking you. I'm going to put it up on the screen. How about my custom ask, Steve? Are you still up for making a GPDI IR runoff of 12 volts DC direct? If so, let me know how to order and call your attention to it. That seems like an up or a down. Yes or a no?
Okay, remind me again why you need to do that. That'll help me answer your question. Please.
All right. Calling Mark. Calling Dr. Mark.
Are you there? I mean, so while we're waiting for Mark's response to that, let's do another one.
Well, this will. Oh, here we go. Mark's running off grid. That's right. I remember him talking about that.
So you're running your entire household on 12 volts?
We need a drum roll. He's on a boat. Okay.
How much, what's the, do you have, do you have 3 amps to spare for this? I mean, how do you even, a boat. Everything on your boat runs on 12 volts DC? See, I need to understand why you just don't have an inverter for everything. So basically, what I'm asking you to do is to expand on your specific application a little more fully, so we don't have to play 20 questions, because in order for me to answer your question, I need to know a whole lot more about your application environment. Excuse me. So while we're waiting for the more expansive response,
Then you can answer this one.
you're
This is-
running tons of amps. You have tons. See, I'm going to just keep asking you back. You have tons of amps. Oh, tons of spare current. Okay.
It says you can use an inverter, but it's less efficient than running DC direct.
Okay. Is your DC source regulated so that it wouldn't? Will it stay within a certain range? Because that's going to be really important.
All right, we're gonna come back to that, but now you can answer. Where's Nico-chan, and what have you done with her?
She's been kidnapped. We'll have her back.
In 2 minutes.
We might see,
Nico-chan.
we might see if we can get her to make an appearance.
Nico-chan. All right, Nico-chan exists. We'll just leave it there for right now.
We can coax her out of the nest, out of the hive. We'll do that.
See if that little bee is drinking whiskey. Okay, can you talk a little bit about the Synergy, the Syn20 IR?
I don't really know anything about it. I only know that it's a basic 18-watt amp, power amp, with a module slot in it and a really simplified clean channel. Wasn't really involved in the development of that, so I don't have.
Tons of insight.
No, I did play through it, and that's pretty much what I know. I didn't really spend much time with it.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see.
Nice clean build.
We have Mark is saying could be regulated DC converter. Else the voltage will go up a good bit while charging.
Well, okay. The GPDI has a regulated 12-volt DC supply built in that is powered by 100, anywhere from 100 to 250 volts AC, from 50 to 60 hertz. So in order to run it without that, you'd have to bypass that converter and feed the 12 volts directly in post converter. The problem with that is you lose all of the circuit protection that the converter provides. So you could run it on 12 volts. It would run at about 3 amps continuously, and you'd have to, like I said, bypass the internal supply input. And so whatever you put between your 12 volt source and the 12 volt connection inside the GPDI would have to be regulated and have to have overload protection and arc protection and surge protection, all that stuff, where it would immediately just shut down and reset the power supply if it happens, to protect everything that's inside. Because the minute that you get a surge or a spike or something and you don't have that protection in there, the whole power supply in the GPD would just go up.
Toast.
It would be immediately toast. So that's the consideration. Could be done, yeah. I mean, but if you've got, I mean, I know it's kind of stupid to have a 12 volt DC source and then put it into an inverter that makes it 120 or 100 or whatever the voltage is, and then reverse invert it so that it goes back down to 12 DC. Yeah, it's kind of stupid, but protection is the issue there. You would have to, in order to make something that would give you the protection, you would actually have to have more than 12 volts so that you end up with 12 volts. So you would need that would have to have some regulation as well. Regulation, spike protection, and all that stuff. Sure, can I do it? Yeah. Will I do it for one unit? I mean, that's a development. That's weeks, months of development to make one unit not likely going to happen. What could happen is there's another kind of converter board that maybe could be dropped in and off the shelf kind of a thing. But anyway, internally the GPDI starts off running at 12 volts after the input inverter. So the answer for you to run it off of 12 volts in your system would be to replace that module that's in it now with one that would convert 12 volts to 12 volts and just offer you all the protection you need. I don't know off the shelf what's available to do that. Could it be done? Yeah, probably. Do I have the time to do it for one piece? No, sorry. That's product development. If we were going to do 1,000 of them, that's another story.
Okay. All right. Next question. When can you not use KT77 tubes in place of EL34s?
I don't know of a circumstance where you can't use KT77s in place of EL34s. I don't know where a circumstance where you can't do that.
Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum-bum.
I'm not enamored of any of the KT77s that are currently on the market. That's another.
Well, rolling into the next one. What tubes are good this week?
Oh God! Try zero.
Ah! Is that your official line?
I don't think it's it's not so much about can reliable tubes be currently produced. I don't think it's about that. It's about demand. That's good news, actually. What it's saying is, for all the people that have been talking about tube amps are dead, and modelers are going to replace it, and we don't need to worry about it anymore. The lie to that is evident actually in how problematic tube production inconsistent it's been over the last 2 years. It's getting a little more inconsistent and more problematic, not because they're just not trying. It's because the demand is so great that they can't keep up with it. And they're just pounding out as much production as they can to try to keep up with demand. And that causes, more fallout. So as aggravating as that is to deal with, I welcome it because that means that the demand is out there. And once the suppliers start falling on their ass on consistency because of demand, they know that they have a decision to make. Either we go out of business because we can't produce them, or there's enough demand for us to sustain us, so we need to go fix this problem. And that's the track that we're on right now, communicating with the tube suppliers, letting them know what the issues are, and trying to give them as much feedback as we can give them so they know where the issues lie in the field. The big deal with that is there are a lot of different people making tube-based products that don't know anything about tubes other than they just sort of work like this. And the power amp stage circuits that are used in a lot of clones are just that, they're clones.
Sure.
There's no engineering applied to them. There's not a whole lot of knowledge about how they're supposed to work. It's just
Dupes.
you build them this way and they work.
Yeah.
You buy the transformers from here, you buy the tubes from there, you follow the schematic, and you do a decent
That's
job
what my
putting it
amp
together.
would be that I build.
Yeah, great. Those guys are not going to be able to feed data, useful field data back to the manufacturers.
They're going to send anecdotal data back about
Yeah.
this is what it's supposed to sound like because this
Yeah,
is what everybody
which
says
is going to
it's
be
supposed-
useless. So it's going to depend on people that have a much better grasp on what they're supposed to do and what is actually happening when they're not doing what they're supposed to do, in order to get them to fix the issues. So that's what's going on right now. A lot of information flowing back and forth about specifically what we're observing and why we're observing it and what the fix is going to be for that. And it's really, materials, accuracy, consistency in production, making sure that the vacuum inside the tube is up to where it's supposed to be. The evacuation of the gases and that there's no contaminants inside.
Yeah.
Could be metal that wasn't properly treated before they made the plate material, for example, so it outgasses inside the bottle. I mean, this is something. These are things that the average tube cloner guy doesn't know anything about.
Yeah.
But that when a tube is behaving erratically, that there is contamination inside the bottle in one way or another, and that contamination can come from very specific places that are identifiable. You just have to give them the feedback that they need to know for them to understand that, okay, we see what the problem is, because they might not necessarily see it right away. So I just see that as a thing that needs to be addressed, and the communication is there to do it, and they all are taking it seriously. They could be taking it more seriously. They have to focus on it now that it's coming back to bite them in the ass. And I'm going to be one of the first persons in line doing the biting.
Arr!
Because we use a lot of 6550s. We use a lot of 6L6s. We use a lot.
Pit bull.
Yeah. So,
A biting pit bull. All right, next question. Brendan asks, is this the busiest your company has ever been?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's crazy. We're looking at ourselves every day and going, really? Really? It's
So, yeah.
I mean, we talked about this a bit yesterday. Like,
Well, I wasn't around, with the big, God, where the hell was it? Where's up north, where Anderson is, where you had the big production facility?
oh, in Newbury Park?
Yeah.
Ah.
Newbury Park. So I wasn't around for that. This is busier than that?
By a factor of 4.
Ooh!
Yeah.
Wow,
It's
man.
crazy.
Huh, okay. Next question.
And, it's wood over there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Steve, I have an old VHT Ultra Lead and need to replace the tubes soon. Do you have any videos or instructions on how to bias and replace tubes?
No. But there's not a lot different in replacing the tubes in that amp as far as biasing that doesn't apply to most amplifiers that use power tubes that need biasing. So all you need to know is which version it is, and so approximately where the bias voltage is supposed to be, and you should be good to go. Any of the websites out there that cover biasing in general applies to the Ultra Lead. It's not something that is done differently than everything else on the planet.
Cool. Is that a meatball sub?
No, it's a potato. It's a deep fried potato cutlet sub.
I haven't had it yet. What do you think?
It's sort of leaning into sort of Japanese style fast food.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Oh, this is a good question. I was wondering if Fryette has a black book of trustworthy amp techs. Should I just send my Fryette head to you guys for a tube replacement, bias, cap replacement, tune-up, etc.?
Excuse me. For the past few years, probably 5, we've just been telling people to send them to us to fix because
It's easier that way.
it's so much easier.
Yeah.
Because communicating with guys out in the field, there's a very small subset of guys that are out in the field that really know what they're doing, and the rest of them are just like, just luck of the draw, winging a prayer. So we just sort of circumvented that by just saying send it to us and be done with it. But we don't have the capacity to do that right now because everybody's slamming. So we are putting together a list of people of recommended places that we would comfortably direct you to. They're not going to be official, verified, Fryette authorized service centers with like all the policy that goes along with that. They're just going to be people that we trust and recommend that you go to them, and if they have any questions, they contact us. We need this document, we need this part, and that's how we're dealing with it right now. So we are putting one together, in the process of doing it right now. It should be available up on our website in about a week.
Oh, great. Wow.
And on the support forum, it'll be listed there too.
All right.
And by the way, whoever's participating in the support forum right now, thank you. That's just so helpful to air your questions out there rather than sending them to the support email box, because a lot of them are just like simple application questions. So if they can be dealt with on the forum rather than sending us a support ticket, it just takes the weight of answering routine questions off of the support team and onto the forum team.
Okay. Next question. What happened to the 300B tubes they wanted to build in the U.S.? I don't know anything about this.
That was false advertising and hype at the get-go. It was never going to happen. Somebody took what was going on in the market post-COVID as an opportunity to get some publicity and say, oh, we're going to bring tube manufacturing back to America. And absolutely, when I saw that, I went, okay, let's find out if these guys are full of it. So I sent them a letter.
Oh, okay.
On our letterhead.
Okay. We're lining up. We're lining up.
If this is for real,
Yeah.
these are the questions as a manufacturer that need to be answered if this is for real. Look forward to your response on how you're going to do distribution. What sort of, do you have a pricing model yet? What models are you actually going to put into production first? And are the materials going to be sourced locally or overseas? And all these kind of questions that anybody that was really serious about a project like that would be able to answer, and we didn't even get a response. Why? Because it was entire marketing smokescreen. They just wanted to raise their profile. So it's been 4 years now since they went, yeah, we're going to step in now. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
That's that?
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Where does one plug headphones into the new GPDI
You don't.
IR?
You don't. The GPDI IR has been refined more into a workflow and recording tool. And the features that you really need to have in it for that purpose were added, and having a headphone amp so you could just plug your guitar into that and play into headphones didn't really fit that criteria. In fact, it inhibited it because the old one does have a headphone amp in it, but nobody liked the way it was implemented. And only a very small percentage of users took advantage of it, and the rest of them just went, "Oh, I hate this. I want it a different way." The real correct way to do it is to plug it into your DAW or an interface or something like that and take the headphones off your interface. This goes back to the can you make it stereo conversation. So take it away with the, because you had a serious and informed take on the whole bit about stereo and listening to headphones and what you're actually doing when you're interacting with that tool.
I don't remember what I said,
Well,
Steve.
you were just talking about how you put it.
What I remember is that you called me.
No, I mean, we were talking about it today, and you said how you would.
Oh! I was talking about how I do it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't about using headphones, because I never use headphones. But it was, anything that has to do with utilizing the GPDI and stereo applications, I'm splitting it out of the box. So the way that I run it, I actually use the unbalanced line because I run it into the Strymon dig pedal, which is a stereo delay. I use that so often, I just have it in line. And then I take the stereo out of that pedal directly into my DAW. And, if I wanted to monitor that with headphones, I could. Because I also imagine, just in terms of workflow or just practice flow, if I was going to be, wanting to do some work with headphones on, I probably would want to be playing along with stuff anyway, soloing the backing tracks, writing whatever.
Yeah.
I want to be in the workstation environment anyway. As we talked about before, I've been using the GPDI since it first came out. So it's been my primary tool for 9 years now. And I've never, I never used the headphone jack once. So
The only time I ever used it, and like for example on the PLAR, it's got the headphone out.
yeah.
The only time I use that is when we're sure it works.
Oh, okay.
Not actually using it.
But I remember you calling me when I was on the East Coast, and you and Julian were talking about,
Yeah.
okay, what if we 86 the headphone function, because I forget what was going to go in there at the time, which new feature replaced it, and I was like, all day long, get rid of that thing. I don't think anyone used it. You know who I think used it? Was Neil. I remember him using it a lot when the GPDI first hit. But everyone else, he's the only guy I know who I think was using that. So, yeah,
And
my solution would be just using it along with.
And he bitched about the fidelity of the headphone output, and his bitch was that it had too much fidelity.
Oh,
And therein lies the problem. Most of these little all-in-one kind of pedal things,
well, you didn't have IRs.
yeah, had they have a little cheesy headphone output amplifier that doesn't have very much headroom, doesn't have very much power, doesn't have very much fidelity. It's just like, okay, it works with headphones, and that doesn't really get you there. So I wanted to have a real headphone amp that would really push headphones, like if you're in a studio and playing with a drummer and bass player, and you're in cans, you need to have enough level in your cans so that you can actually hear them and not have it all drowned out by other people in the room.
Yeah.
To do that, you have to have a power supply that can support it, and then what that does is it delivers fidelity into the headphones, and then once you do that, you have enough fidelity to hear what you don't like about listening directly to a guitar into a load, even into IRs, into headphones, because it'll still have some crispiness that you'll be annoyed with. And, there's been a few times on the show where we've hooked up the PLIR or the GPDI directly into the stream and play through it. And somebody would always comment, hey, that's a little crispy, because it wasn't produced into a sound that you would stream. It was live direct into the stream. And so you heard the real sound of everything going on, warts and all. And you went, yeah, that's a little crispy. Can you fix that? Yeah. We could fix it by recording an actual track, mastering it, making it sound like you would really want it to sound if you were listening to it on a stream or on a video in headphones. You would want it to sound like it was a mastered record.
Yeah.
And that's not what plugging headphones into a device like that sounds like until you process it. And that's why we ditched it. Because if you're going to go to that effort to get it to sound that good, you're going to plug it into your DAW and do all that and then listen to that through headphones.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is interesting. If you want to opine on this, if you have anything to say. Given how good load boxes are with IRs, what's next for that kind of tech? It's kind of wide open.
I'll tell you what's next. It'll be about 3 months before I can answer that question, but I'll tell you what it is then.
Wow, Steve.
Because we're developing it now.
Throwing down the gauntlet.
Yep.
Woo, okay. All right. Next question.
My philosophy on all of that is garbage in, garbage out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure.
If you have a crappy load, and you probably know a couple of devices I'm probably talking about, but good post-load audio signal processing, you can almost forgive the crappy load because the rest of the processing sounds great. If you have a really good load and crappy post-processing, that's not ideal either. And there are products out that are like that. And most people are going, well, you know what? I would like to take the good part of that one and patch it into the good part of that one. And those products don't allow you the facility to do that. And I imagine there's a very good reason for that, which is then you'll discover how bad that aspect of their product really is, and then you'll dump it. So the only way to make it really go to the next step is to take both aspects of it to the next step. And I got to say that the PLIR has been doing a really great job of, is it the most advanced IR loader on the planet? No, but it's backed up with a really good reactive load. And so when you play them together, they sound really good together and they record well together. And that's not me just saying that. That's what all of our customers say. I'm having a ball with this. So the next development of that is just going to be to step up that both aspects of that design and put them into a package that will just represent the next generation of that thinking.
Robert, I see you.
I'm glad somebody sees me.
I've known Robert for about 100 years. Okay, we didn't answer this question. Steve, I already have the GPDI and the PS100. Pretty sure I need to order the new GPDI IR. Is there a GPDI IR rack mount kit in the works?
Mm-mm.
That's a big NO.
No. Well, yes and no. Sorry, hold on.
Chew that thing into the microphone so everybody can have your ASMR eating experience along with you.
I guarantee you don't want to hear that. We ditched the idea of a rack mount kit for the power load and the GPDI IR because they're too small this way. They're just wide enough that they're too wide to do two side by side in a rack bracket kind of an arrangement. And one of them is more than one rack space and less than two. So to make a rack kit to put that individually, a PLIR or a GPDI,
Yeah.
in a rack is to horribly waste rack space.
I remember I asked him about this a couple weeks ago too. I was wondering the same thing.
And John Z,
What?
how you doing,
John
bro?
Z sighting?
Great to see you here.
Hey, man.
So what we're doing instead is we're making a kind of like a full-featured rack shelf that will have holes in it where you can screw the bottom of the GPDI or the PLAR into a rack shelf to
Will you
secure
keep the
it.
feet on it or pull them off?
Depends on how you want to configure it.
Oh, okay.
So you'll have a selection of hardware to do it that way. So it'll be a rack shelf, and you'll put those units on a rack shelf together with maybe other devices that could go on a rack shelf and mount it that way. And that's going to be our solution. It's a better solution because it doesn't waste as much space and it's more convenient to mount stuff.
That makes sense. Are you finished?
Yeah.
Okay. This is cool. I have a Sound City Concord GT80
boy.
212 combo. I'm going to get running. I noticed there's a ceramic disc caps in parallel with the rectifier diodes. Never seen this before. It looks factory. Why do this?
Those are spike suppressors. So when a rectifier is operating, a solid state diode rectifier is operating, it's turning on and off. So there's 4 of them in a circuit of a square wave. And there are some pretty good YouTube videos that discuss a full wave rectifier bridge, which is what you're talking about. And they describe how each of the 4 diodes in a full wave bridge turn on and off in the presence of AC voltage, going positive and negative and positive and negative. So these diodes are constantly switching on and off. When they switch, there's a current spike, and that current spike emits a little beep. And the capacitors across each of those diodes are basically just snubbers for those current spikes. They're not absolutely necessary. They used to be a big deal, and everybody used to put them on there. The problem is it was kind of like another thing to break if there was a voltage spike or a high voltage line spike, or if the diode failed, it would take the capacitor out too. So it was 2 parts to replace. So these days, what a lot of people do, what we do, is we put a spike suppressor across the AC voltage feeding the rectifier, and that shunts enough of those current spikes that it gets rid of the noise without having 4 of them. But you can just leave them in there, or you can replace them. But if the diodes are good and the capacitors are good, there's no need to replace them, and that's all they're doing is just shunting the current spikes of each of the 4 diodes as they switch from on state to off state. Okay?
Cool. Michael. How about a GP3 IR?
How about that? That's all I can say right now. That's all I can say.
Okay.
I know nothing.
All right.
Struder. I know nothing.
John Z
Great
says
question.
he's just an anomaly. John's a guitar legend is what he is.
Yeah. And don't you forget it.
Miss hearing you play, brother. Okay, cool.
Was that Torin that asked that question?
Yeah, it was. And now he's saying, take my money.
I will. You know I will.
Yeah, all right, well, we're caught up on questions now. Wait a minute. No, there was one way up top that... Can you delete questions? Did I miss it somehow? There was something about the PS100. And... Oh, yeah. Is there a solution for the 150 hertz hum from the PS100?
Oh, I love this question. Where is that from? You've been on the support forum, haven't you? There is no 150 hertz hum in the PS100. I've been seeing this conversation going back and forth, and it's not in the PS100. It is actually, there is going to be a post about that in the Fryette forum that explains what it is, but I'll tell you what it is. It's not anything being generated by the PS100. It is a frequency harmonic of the 50 hertz line voltage that's plugged into the PS100. It's coming from the AC line. In other words, this is a discussion that is going around on the forum with respect to a couple of people that own PS100s. One guy's in Sweden, I think, and another guy is in Germany somewhere.
Okay.
That when they turn the volume all the way up on a power station, all the way up, with an amp plugged into it, but not processing any signal, not playing through it, but just turning the volume all the way up on the PS100 and listening to it through the monitors.
Yeah.
They hear this hum. And one guy has a, excuse me, I think he had a audio analyzer or something like that. And the audio analyzer displayed 150 hertz frequency, associated with the signal that was being read. And it was decided that somehow the Power Station 100 was magically creating this 150 hertz, that was the source.
Okay.
That wasn't the source. The source of that is the amplifier that was plugged in to the power station and plugged into a 230 volt AC outlet with 50 hertz line frequency was transmitting some residual line frequency harmonics into the amp in of the power station, which when you turn the volume all the way up, it would amplify that back out. So what you're hearing is not anything that originated inside the PS100. The PS100 is amplifying the residual harmonic that's in your amplifier and playing it. Now, you would never turn the Power Station 100 all the way up to full volume to record it or to play into a cabinet or for any reason. It's just, if I turn it this way, I can hear it. It's like, well, if you turn it that way, you can hear it, and we can see it, and we can read it. We also can see something similar here in the U.S. with the 60 hertz line, but the harmonics associated with the 60 hertz frequency, line frequency, aren't as large in amplitude as they seem to be on the European line voltage. So there's a harmonic there that shows up pretty prominently.
Wow.
That doesn't happen at 60 hertz. Now we have a programmable power supply, and part of the video that we just shot, you're going to see that in action. We have a programmable power supply in our factory that we can set to any AC line voltage and any AC line current and any AC line frequency. So we can emulate the behavior of these different voltage sources in our factory. We can actually observe how they operate there. That power supply is a very high quality power supply. It's an industrial, regulated, programmable power supply. And as such, it filters out any of the line harmonics that would normally appear directly from the outlet. So, with no line harmonics being fed into either the amplifier that you're plugging into it or the line cable plugged into the power of the PS100, unless that's generated from an external source. The PS100 itself does not generate that. Another guy said, oh, well, I took the cover off and I noticed that it's less when I take the cover off. Okay, cover is steel, all right? Steel. And the power transformer is over on the right of the unit. And a power transformer creates a magnetic field, all right? When the transformer is creating a field, it transmits some of the magnetic field across the top cover, so across the width of the unit. Again, if you turn the volume way, way up, you can hear a little bit of that hum being transferred across.
We were doing this with the GPDI a few weeks ago.
That's right. And so you can induce that behavior if you abuse the thing hard enough, but in the practical application of the product, it doesn't do that. You have to help it, number one. And number two, okay, well, if it's being transmitted across the unit because of the cover, then why don't you change it to a cover that's non-ferrous so that it doesn't do that? Yeah, I would love to do that. And you know what will happen next? We'll get 20 emails from guys that like, you know what, I had an old PS100 and it squealed a little bit and it kind of bugged me, so I got rid of it. And I decided that it didn't bother anymore, so I got a brand new one. It squeals like crazy now. What's the deal? Has an aluminum cover now, which is not ferrous, which means it doesn't shield the squeal coming from your pickup as well as the steel cover did. So that will create a new thing to complain about. So no, we're not going to change it. We're not going to redesign the product because somebody wants to just set it up in some extreme mode and then go online and talk about, hey, I'm having a problem running this at in a setting that no practical person would ever set it at, just because I can find an issue there. It's one of those things that once you hear it, you can't unhear it, or once you find it, you decide that it's a flaw. It's not a design flaw. It's a side effect of using it in a way that you would not normally operate the product.
Can you just sell giant Faraday cages?
Shit, yeah. Shit, yeah.
Nice one, Tom.
Exactly, Lou. Actually, you know what? That's kind of our stock answer. Doc, my arm hurts when I do this. Yeah, don't do that. Sorry. It's a great question, Sync.
Whoa, I have crumbs on my face?
And I'm happy to address it. I
have crumbs on my face?
Yeah, you did. And I knew about it, and I didn't tell you. So there.
That's my boy.
That's real love, dude.
I
accept you just the way you are.
All crummy face.
That's right.
I knew I shouldn't have eaten any of that on air.
Crummy face. I love it.
Okay. John Z asks, is David Torn still playing your stuff?
Yeah, and we're sending him the new GPDI this coming month. Yeah. David Torn is our long time.
I would love to have him on the show again. I think we had him on in the first season. It's been a long time.
Yeah, we have to do that again. Bent, I'm sorry, I can't help you with that because I don't know who you've been going out with. You're going to have to solve that on your own. Go back 3 or 4 questions, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Who said what?
Bent Torn.
Said what?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5th question from the end.
But what's it say?
Why does it hurt when I pee?
Where the hell does it say that?
1, 2, 3, 4. Look on the screen. 5th one up.
Hold on.
Look on the monitor.
Got it. We had a little delay over here. Tom, you're on fire tonight. What are you drinking? Oh man! All right. Well, what else you want to talk about? We're all caught up. We should bring in Nico-chan.
Yeah, we should. Well,
a little intermission, a little interlude.
we could see if we could coax Nico-chan to maybe come in and weigh in on the most recent sumo championship.
Oh, I would love to hear about that. I know nothing about it. I get the news from you guys occasionally on it. Have you been watching?
Yeah, and there's a big new development in the sumo world. There's a new yokozuna that has just been named, which is a really important development because in sumo world, the yokozuna is like the top guy. He's the top. The rikishi. A rikishi is a sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
And the top rikishis become yokozunas. They basically become a living deity in.
Is that
in the
because they
sumo world.
won a particular? Is it like they're the grand champion, or is it a stature thing over winning repeatedly?
It's a little of both. It's a little of both.
Here we go. Ask and you shall
So
receive.
there's a new yokozuna, and the important thing about that is the last yokozuna had retired, and in sumo world, having no yokozuna as part of each tournament is kind of like not having a president or something like that. You have to have the top guy who he's sort of like he's like a living god in.
Well, it's like you need to find the next Dalai Lama.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, we'll have Nico-chan come in and talk about the newly minted yokozuna and anything else about Japanese culture that she would like to discuss.
Okay, sounds
As soon
good
as
to
we
me.
can get her to
Do we have a Nico-chan chant we need to do to bring her on?
Nico-chan,
Nico-chan,
hi, hi.
Oh.
Nico-chan, hi.
What about the old romper room spell?
Ah.
You haven't said that in a number of years.
Oh, you want to do the romper room chat?
Yeah, you got it?
Yeah, I
You got
do,
it?
right here.
This is old-timey right here.
This is like back from the first couple of episodes.
That's right. Oh,
Ready?
yeah, let's do it.
Romper, bumper, stomper, boo. Tell me, do. Magic mirror, what do you say? Did all our malcontents have fun today? Yay! Okay,
Nico-chan,
I see
Nico-chan,
Nico-chan flying
Nico-chan.
around the room a little bit.
Yeah. Oh. bzzz, bzzz, and
Yay! Nico-chan!
what's up, kid?
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Nico-chan.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm fine. I've been drinking, so
Ooh.
you guys just break my good time.
We pulled you out of the bar to come on here. I'm sorry.
Hey, we didn't pull you out. They pulled you out.
Yeah.
Look at all your fans.
Thank you, everybody. Oh, so you guys are drinking?
Not much.
I'm still working on my
a
first
couple
one.
drops.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple drops left. The Balvenie, the 12, the double wood. It's very tasty.
I've been drinking whiskey sour today.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's your new thing?
Yeah, I used to don't like it because the whiskey sour has the egg white.
Uh-huh.
I just don't like that part.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
been making without the egg white.
You know, our buddy Scott hopes that your butt is okay. Is your
My-
butt doing okay?
My butt doing fine.
Great. We love that.
Just fine. Yes. But I have to go back to see doctor again.
Butt doctor?
Yeah, butt doctor.
More OCD butt stuff?
Yes.
Okay.
I gotta do it this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a healthy butt.
Yeah.
One of my friends is having a butt scan tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
Tell him have fun.
I'll text him right now.
Hope he have a good
Nico-chan hopes you have a good butt doctor visit.
He will have a good time. Yes.
So tell us, Nico-chan,
What?
tell us about Hoshoru
I'll show you.
and what the significance of that is in sumo world.
Wow, I don't think nobody cares that.
See, now that's the way to answer a fucking question.
Yeah, guess what?
I don't think
Nobody
anybody
cares.
gives
I'm
a
not
shit.
answering that shit.
If you don't care about the sumo, what's the sumo about? You don't care about the Japanese cultures. You don't care about the naked man boobs. I can't speak. You have to watch. You have to watch.
You have to watch.
Hey, well, Bet Tom threw up that he knew who Hoshoru is, so we got at least one person that knows what's up.
Yeah. Well, he had a really bad image because of his ankle. His ankle was really
Asahuru?
Asashoru. He was really strong yokozuna, which is top of the top. But he also had a really bad image, and the Hoshoru, his really look like his ankle.
They look very close, yeah.
So people automatically thinking that Hoshoru also has a dark side of them.
Oh, interesting.
Negative personality.
Negative personalities. But anyway, that who care about the sumo conversation now? You guys talking about
Just man
Nah.
boob.
Any more
discussion.
hands up there?
Yeah.
mom boobs and
Well, Michael Torrance says, if you were talking
Oh,
judo,
judo.
I'd be all in.
Judo.
Well, the thing is,
Hoshoru.
Hoshoru has a judo background, so
Yeah,
that's why he's like, that's
He
part of
used a-
his technique, right?
Yes, he used a lot of judo technique.
So get with the program, Torrin.
What is the name of the great judo champion who first fought the first Gracie in Japan, and it was like a big
Oh.
controversial fight I'm talking about?
I do, but I
Michael,
don't-
you might know.
I don't remember his name. Sorry.
Yeah.
I played judo.
That
too.
dude was a gangster.
Yeah. I do play judo too. I have a,
I played you played judo?
yes. Yes.
I'll stand over here
You
then.
had a black belt, right?
First, yes.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah.
I do. I was playing. I don't think I can play anymore. But yeah.
She's using play in terms of
Yeah.
practicing
Yeah.
judo.
Yeah. No more.
No more?
No more.
It's more about the LA bar scene for you now.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
like alcohol better than judo now.
Oh, okay.
No.
So you practice alcohol regularly now?
Yes,
You play alcohol?
definitely. Yes. Pretty much. Because what's I like is drinking alcohol and watching sumo. That's a really
That's a good
That's a good
combination.
idea
That's a
because
really good
It's an
time.
excellent combination.
there's zero effort and a lot of entertainment.
Yeah, a lot of jumping up and down in the living room.
Yeah.
Yeah, not me. Steve does it.
Oh,
Steve like
I do.
up and down, screaming like a yes, yes.
Yeah, totally. And I have a lot of respect for Hoshoru, but my top favorite rikishi of all time is Midori Fuji.
He's a really small guy.
Midori Fuji is 117 kilograms.
Midori is both you use that name for men and women? Like
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
Interesting.
the rikishi have, they're not their actual names, so they have their basically
Stage
stage
Yeah,
name,
names.
play
yeah.
name,
Yeah.
I'd only
And-
known that as a feminine name.
Yeah, and Midori Fuji is weighs 117 kilograms, and he's about 5'4" or something like that. He's a little guy,
Uh-huh.
and
174 centimeter. Is 174 centimeter? Yeah.
174
Like a
centimeters.
5'6" or
5'6", basically my height. And this guy is picking up and throwing out of the dojo, the ring, guys that are 400 pounds and 6'2", because he's got this special arm throw technique where if they're not on their game, he'll go right in, and before you know it, he took this big giant monster of a sumo wrestler and
He's
just
David
flips
going
him
against
over
the
out of the
Goliaths.
ring.
Yeah.
And whenever that happens, I just jump straight out of my chair and start
You
screaming.
guys have to remember, sumo is not the sport.
It's not a sport. It's not a
Not the
competition.
sport.
It is it's a
It's
demonstration of spirituality for
It's a ritual thing.
for a religious ritual, basically.
Mm.
So even though they're competing, there's no anger. There's not supposed to be any attitude. They're not supposed to do like I beat you. You know,
Right,
there's
right.
none
The
of that sort of
showboating shit,
showboating
yeah.
stuff. It's really frowned upon. Actually, Hoshoru's uncle, Asashoru,
He did that so
he
many
did-
times.
he
That's why
would-
he got busted.
that's
for
why
it.
he got popped, because
Yeah.
he was showing off. He was, hey, I beat. He was like being really.
Acting like an American.
Yeah, he was really acting out, and he was really giving sumo a bad name, and so he got spiked for that, and
Yeah,
that
I-
reputation sort of tainted Hoshoru's reputation at first, but he proved himself to be, not of that same ilk.
There's a lot of people all over the world, sumo fan, and that they get together to try to bring the sumo as a Olympic sports, and then the Japanese really against it.
Right.
Yeah. They're like, that's missing the point entirely.
Yeah, the Sumo Association
Yeah.
said, no, we don't want to be
We
part of
don't
the
want
Olympics. We're not a sport.
Yeah.
You're totally
Right.
missing the point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are really grateful that people love sumo, but unfortunately, sumo is not the sport.
Yeah, yeah.
So-
It's like yoga being disconnected from so much from what it's actually
Yeah.
about and where it originated from.
Do
Yeah.
you think yoga became the Olympic game someday?
Oh, I don't know. I don't care.
Well,
Yeah.
there are enough organizations that want to emulate what they think sumo is, in order to do that. But I don't. I highly doubt that culturally Japan is going to cave
Oh,
into
by
that.
the way, how many viewers right now? Who care about this conversation?
We have 50 viewers right now.
Okay, well, why don't you guys talk about the more music stuff?
With you?
Well, I don't know. With me, what I know, I don't know.
Sure you do.
Well, I've been drinking, so I don't know. My brain works or not.
Let's see. Tell us a story about when you used to play timbales on the Britney Spears tour in 2007.
2007, that it was really nice time. Britney was really good to me, and I had a really good time, and
Were you an alcoholic yet?
I was already. That's why I can talk about the bullshit like this. Yeah.
Yeah!
Yeah.
So that was a good time?
That was a good time,
Yeah. She gave you a long solo on that tour. I saw you. You played for like 15 minutes straight. Timbale solo.
Yeah,
It was intense.
I know. I can do that. 15 minutes, yeah. That long? Really? Okay, well, I play next time like 20 minutes then. Alright. You guys drinking?
No, not
We're
really.
just getting started.
Okay, you guys are just teasing me then.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm okay. Alright, why don't you guys drink more?
All right. Well, great to see you again. Thanks
Thank
for
you for
coming and
stopping
joining
by.
us.
We'll see you at the bar later, Nico-chan.
I'm fine, you guys.
All right.
Bye-bye.
She's flying away. Thank you, Nico-chan.
Everybody says goodbye.
That was great.
I think
You're about to say something.
I think
really
the
poignant.
the blowhardery has reached its apex.
Does that mean you're done? Like, let me out here.
Yeah, I'm pretty done.
I feel I have no more air.
Yeah.
I see people are accusing us of being related. Is Joe Steve's son? Look, guys, Steve is my son.
That's right.
People don't know this.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a long story.
A long, complicated story. Solved with the help of 23andMe. Let's see. What year did we meet? I think it was 2014.
The onset. You saw the very first prototype of the GPDI.
Yes, sure did.
You walked in when that was first fired up.
When I first walked in, you were showing me, it was prototypes of the LX2, the GPDI, and the power station. Those were all in the works. They hadn't been released yet. And I was like, what in the hell is happening here?
Yeah, that was the beginning of a flurry of creativity that has, by some crazy, cracked turn of fate, has been going on for 11 years now. It just blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Continuous stream of whatever the hell that was. It's still, we're still milking it.
This is funny. I love this comment so much. I mean, Danny, it seems sincere. Is Joe Steve's son? I've always wondered this. They look the same, or do they look the same because they're always together? Like, I don't see you that often. It's just we're together when we put out things. So it appears like we're hanging out every day.
Yeah, I just think it's a personality thing because we do have a lot to talk about whenever we get together. And there are a lot of times when we don't see each other or talk for weeks and weeks and weeks, but then as soon as we get together, oh my God, just had a fucking wicked Charlie horse.
Oh no.
I'm gonna miss the sacrifice. Oh my God.
That sucks.
That was one.
Wow.
I guess I better start eating bananas again.
Yeah, you need that potassium.
Yeah.
Bananas have potassium. Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Reminded me of
they're saying if you put a toque on, we'd look the same.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, we just have a lot in common about playing an attitude and how things sound and of course musically they're different sort of tracks, but in a way and then not in a way.
Broken sense of humor.
Yeah.
On both sides.
Yeah. A lot of dysfunctional shit going on.
Yeah, we're both dysfunctional.
So thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, man. That might be a wrap.
Yeah, I think so. I do want to just like I do want to wrap up with an RIP, as much as I hate to say it, an RIP to an old friend who I actually haven't seen in a long time, but I just heard today that he had passed, and that's Dave Jordan, the engineer, producer extraordinaire, who was a personal friend, and I'd worked with him, and he was a genius, and one of these guys that didn't act like a genius or seem like a genius, but he delivered like a genius, and I knew that he was in poor health for probably the last at least 5 years that I'm aware of, and I just noticed that his family had posted that he had passed a couple of days, yesterday or the day before. So that's too bad. A true pioneer and contributor. He's responsible for the first Alice in Chains records.
He did the Dirt record, Kelly. He did the second Big Wreck record.
He did. He did the first two Jane's Addiction records.
Yeah.
He basically discovered Jane's Addiction.
He was all over the 90s.
Yeah. When I first met him, I was playing with the Dickies, and the Dickies played a show at Northridge College.
Oh, yeah.
And this new freaky band called Jane's Addiction open for us. And we thought, who the fuck are these whack jobs? And they just came out on stage, and I went, oh, interesting. And then the next time I talked to Dave, he's like, yeah, I'm working with this really cool new band called Jane's. I said, oh, you're involved in that. Of course you're involved in that. He was involved in all kinds of really interesting breaking stuff. I think he did a Deftones record and Biohazard maybe. He did a bunch of stuff. He worked with Eno, Talking Heads. He did the Keith Richards solo record. He just was all over the place, and he was respected by all kinds of different players from different parts of the musical spectrum, because he wasn't one kind of producer. He wasn't a guy that had a particular sort of niche in the industry. He was one of those guys that he's responsible for relaying his sonic philosophy to me that I embrace, which is that the musical canvas supports so much color density, and then there's no more. So if you keep trying to add more and more color, what you end up with is the color brown, the color shit brown.
Right.
And so every color in the spectrum has to have its own place, and that was his philosophy about mixing. So when you listen to his mixes, that's why no matter how many musicians are on the track or how many tracks he recorded, there would be a space in the track for all of that stuff. And that's why his mixes were very distinct and very expansive sounding. And even dense mixes sounded like there was some space and air in them, because he knew that everything had its place, and even a small little element in a mix would sound bigger than it is because it occupied its own unique space in the mix. So things didn't get buried in his mixes. They just were assigned their proper value in a mix. And so the color palette was very vibrant. That's the best way I can describe it. And there weren't a lot of that. He's kind of started a trend that a lot of other people followed later, which was how to get
Hit records will do that.
How to get density and space at the same time. And the other thing I loved about him is when he was mixing, oh my God, he mixed so loud, and all the other engineers and producers I worked with would go, you can't mix at really high dB levels like that. You just lose all your perspective. And when he did a mix, he had these big Altec monitors right above his head in Eldorado Studios, and those speakers were just pounding. And I would just sit in the couch behind him, and I'm like, yeah, this is what music is supposed to sound like. He was just blowing the walls off of this place.
Wow.
But he managed to listen to monitors like that and not get fatigued by it. That was just the studio was also very cold. And I understand Keith Scott did the same thing. When they were mixing, they had the temperature in the control room was 60 degrees or something. You'd have to wear a coat. There was something about it being really icy cold and really fucking loud that he felt kept him focused. And I just thought, this is the way you should live your life. Yeah, go to Alaska and just play everything fucking as loud as you can. And then you'll be in nirvana, it'll be great. So, my heart goes out to his family and prayers, and a big, huge shout out to the great Dave Jordan.
And we don't have anything that Dave worked on queued up to play on the way out, so apologies. I didn't know that was coming up. But sounds like a great place to end.
Yeah.
And do this again in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us again. And we'll see you hopefully in 2 weeks. We can get it together, right?
If. The big if.
Yeah. All right.
Take care.